Alright, let's pick up where we left off with three vultures, two already here in Eridu, one back in Uruk. I'm going to leave one warrior here in case some barbarians show up. I can see Victoria is expanding north. So because there are sufficient units around to keep most of this land observed, I shouldn't really have barbarian problems. That's one of the benefits of playing on Pangaea. All of the nations end up keeping an eye on most of the territory. Barbarians can only spawn in areas which are under fog of war, which are not being observed by any player. I actually think that they can't spawn in the first level of the fog of war either, so the units see one by one in like a 3 by 3 square. They see one tile away, unless they're on a hill and they see a little further. But I think that barbarians can't spawn within 2 tiles of any unit. So like if there's a unit standing here, he'd be able to see these tiles, but I think barbarians couldn't spawn in the next ring of tiles either. I'm not 100% sure of that, but I think that's right. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to declare war now because I see a good opportunity. I have 2 workers. Workers, especially in the early game, slow down your development quite a lot to make. They're worth it anyway. You get better lands, you can hook up resources, you can improve particularly strong tiles. It's very important to have lots of workers so that you're improving the resources in your territory. But the downside of having lots of workers is that you had to slow down your city's growth in order to make them. But if we can steal workers from other players, that tends to be advantageous. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to steal this worker, I'm going to attack it with my warrior, and I'm going to capture it. Now, this would be a bad idea if there's an archer sitting in this tile. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to declare war. Never mind, let's just have something else. Your head would look good on the end of a pole. And I'm going to move this one here. Now, if I capture this worker, one of these archers is going to come out and fight me on this tile. And they're going to probably win, although I have some chance of winning that fight with this guy on a hill. 2 base strength, plus 10% for combat 1, plus 25% for the terrain bonus of being on a hill, is still less than 3, especially with the first strike bonus. I don't really want to get into how combat works precisely, but I would say I probably have a 30 to 35% chance of surviving that attack. I'm going to go ahead and take the worker. Now the worker can't move, so I can't run away until the start of the next turn. Now this vulture is going to come here to support. So if the archer does come kill my warrior and take this worker back, I'll be able to take it back very easily on the next turn. I'm going to continue chopping out vultures in Uruk. And I will slow build a vulture here in Eridu. I think 6 or so vultures should be sufficient to win this war very quickly. I'm still working on alphabet. We'll see how the Mongolians respond to my provocations. They didn't take the bait. I was kind of hoping that they would go after me here. I'm going to run away with this warrior. And I'm going to use it to start chopping out another vulture in Eridu. So first I'm going to retreat into the city. Now I can't quite win the fight here. So this one is going to move on to this tile. So he has an archer here, but it's already wounded. It's a 2.1 out of 3. So if he attacks this warrior, I should win that fight easily. especially since it has the bonus against archers. This vulture will help protect this warrior. This is the warrior with the medic promotion, so I want to cluster up around that one. And this will go here. This may mean that he is planning on making a city down here. I haven't seen the rest of his territory, so his other city, and he definitely has another city at this point, is somewhere around here. I assume it's not to the north because it's tundra up here, but there might be a particularly good spot up here that he chose. I assume it's over here somewhere in this direction. I'd be very surprised if he doesn't have a second city up already. Eridu will finish a vulture immediately. It looks like there was sufficient overflow and base production to finish the vulture fast. It already had 10 out of 35, 20 from a tree that just got chopped on this tile, I think. And it has base of 6, so that's quite good. It'll be another vulture here. And I can whip out another vulture in this tile. This one is going to forgive me momentarily, but I want this out very fast. So I'm going to have it just so that it'll work this tile here. I'm going to have this worker chop this, because now I'm going to take a break from whipping to let them calm down. It takes 10 turns per point of whip anger for them to forgive you. So I'm going to, well, might be best. Yeah, I'm going to slow build another vulture, and then once this gets to size 4, I'm going to whip out a granary, and the granary will double the speed of the growth of the city. And that will allow me to whip more aggressively because the cities will grow back up faster than before. So I now have 2 more vultures here. This vulture will go to... There's 3 archers in this city. This vulture will go here. This one will go here for now. I'll keep these together. And I'll keep these 2 together. And this one will cover. Already has cover. I'll give this one cover. And this worker, in the interest of getting a bit of a better economy to help support this growth, I'm going to make a cottage. That will improve the commerce yield of those tiles. And if once you work the cottage for a certain number of turns, it will get another commerce point. Cottages are not my long-term plan here. The problem with cottages is if they get pillaged by enemy troops, you have to start all over from the beginning. So I'm going to build an economy around specialists inside the cities instead of cottages on the tiles outside the cities. I'll start with a granary. Still working the cow tile, which is good. A granary will help whip, and this city is angry with me and needs to calm down anyway. Okay, this is... It demands military protection. So I'm going to take one of these warriors back with me next turn. I'm ready to go. See, this is just dominating. Even though the archer gets its hills unit ability and the hills tile defense, 6 combat is simply too strong, especially with an injured archer. So I will win this fight easily. I do take a significant amount of damage, so it will take some time for it to heal up. They'll move here for now. And this one will go here. Let's check the combat likelihood. Okay, 65.4%. So, it's not at 100%. Inside the city, the archers get an extra plus 50% defense. And they get the defense from the city itself, an extra 40% tile defense. But even with those bonuses, my vultures are still likely to win the fight. So I will use this to scout out a little bit more. Maybe I'll be able to grab another worker. I might pillage these tiles. It'll prevent the city from growing and stop resistance. But at the same time, once I take the city, I'm going to want those tiles to be worked. Now that this has grown, I'm going to whip the city. And then I will slow build a granary once that's done. Okay. Now, the forests around the cities provide health to the cities. Notice there's a huge gap between the health that they have and the unhealth that is building up. Certain features of the terrain produce more unhealth than others. Like the floodplains here are creating some unhealthiness for the city. But in general, health is not the restricting factor of a city's growth. Happiness is. And for the production from the forests around the cities accelerates the growth of the city so much that even though there will eventually be a point where I might wish that I had left the forests, it's almost always worth it to chop the forests, especially near the beginning of the game. I don't really want open borders with him right now. If I leave, this guy is going to get a little mad at me. I might have some unhappiness in this city because they're going to want military protection, but that only starts at size 3, and so it shouldn't be much of an issue. I'll chop. Okay, there's now 4 archers in the city. I will I'll pillage the corn momentarily. Okay, he whipped out this other archer. You can see he lost a population in the city, which means he sacrificed that population for the eunuch, which is a pretty standard response by the computer. I'll give Pakal open borders. I guess we'll find out what he thinks. So this archer stepped outside of the city, which is almost certainly a bad move by him. I did take a little bit of damage to win that fight, but it's not really much of a problem. I'm going to destroy some of the improvements around the city. That will make it easier for me to capture it, because he won't be able to whip out troops as easily. You're too close. I'm not interested in giving you open borders. See, that guy got hurt, but he's going to be safe. I'll put this one here. This one got to 5. So I'm going to give him City Raider. Now his odds of winning the fight should go up after he heals up. This granary will be done pretty soon, so will this one. That's good. you don't actually get improved movement from roads inside enemy borders. So that's why my vultures are only moving one tile at a time right now. I'll give him city attack as well. That tends to be a good play here. Fortify. And this corn province is going to be worth just a ton of food when it's done. I will make a mine on this tile and a cottage on this one. I will start another vulture. I'll slow build this vulture. I sent this warrior to the wrong place, but it doesn't matter. They don't get mad about being undefended until they get to size 3. So I have plenty of time for him to get back. Okay, it did finish the granary. This one should finish its granary relatively soon. And then it will start growing much faster. Notice he's really mass producing archers in this city, which is fine. I don't want to fight de Gaulle's unit here. I have 5 vultures, 6 vultures around the city, and he has 5 archers inside. So if I start attacking, I've got more than a 50% chance of winning, but that's not good enough for me. So I'm going to let this grow one more size, and I'm going to whip out a vulture there, and this one is also going to whip out a vulture on the turn after this one. Actually, I should increase its production. This way there will be sufficient overflow into the vulture that I can whip it out with one population. This is the kind of micromanagement that can become important in a game. I'm going to bunch up my vultures onto a single tile. Oh man, well, it started at 0. There was no overflow. Oh, that's annoying. I have a very particular plan here for what to do. It might work. This is a bad trade. Bronze working is worth a lot more. Would they be happy with me if I take it? So I am going to take it. It helped him out quite a bit. See, I'm not actually at the bottom
the idea of God,
because I've been focused on troops for so long. Okay. 8. I actually want to reduce my production a little bit here and focus on food. Perfect. I'll show you what I'm doing next turn. If I did this right, and I think I did. Okay, I have 2 cottages here. I'll make a mine on this tile. I'll cut down these trees. Select all the vultures. Let's see. Because I'm crossing a river, my odds of winning the fight are 75%. Wow, he's really mass producing these archers. Okay. I need to move one of these archers into this tile to block this archer from revenge killing my vulture. And I'll add another one actually to keep it extra safe. Okay. I actually want to do it this way. This seems weird, but I think this is the right way to do it. I want to have just under 30 left for the vulture. That way when I whip it, I'll get 2 pop. I'll get 60 and they'll overflow and it'll finish the next vulture on the next turn. I didn't do this perfectly either, which is kind of a shame, but it's okay. I'll give this one city attack, and I'll bunch them up on the same tile again. Okay, I think... Okay, cool. Now, if I use 2 population, if I whip 2 pop worth of units, then I still only get 1 unhappiness. So it's more efficient to wait until you're at size 4, because you can only whip half of your pop at once. And notice, this is at 4 out of 35. If I had accidentally put 1 more hammer in, it would only let me whip 1 population, which is happiness inefficient. So by leaving it at exactly 4 out of 35, I can press this button. And not only do I get this vulture, but on the next turn, I will very easily be able to finish the next vulture quickly afterwards. And it will grow again because it was almost grown anyway. So it'll grow back up to size 3 very quickly. And then this one will finish chopping down this forest. And that's how you get lots of units very quickly in this game. Slavery is very efficient for production. If I had tried to make these units with only hammers of tiles that I'm working with the city, I would have maybe 3 vultures. And I'm about to have 8. That's a huge difference. I'm going to let them continue to heal. This one's going to make a mine. No, I already have 7. I'm about to have 9. Maybe I should make a road. No, that was a waste of a turn. Roads don't work in enemy territory anyway. And see, this next vulture will also finish instantly because of the way the rollover worked. Chopping the tree and popping and whipping a second pop meant that I have a vulture, and then I immediately produce another vulture on the next turn. If you don't rush like this, then you have no chance of taking the city. I'm probably being more conservative than a stronger player would be. They would simply accept that they're going to take some losses with these vultures. I don't like to take losses, because if I fail the fight, my opponent will heal up the units while they're inside the city. So I want to make sure that I bring enough that my victory is essentially guaranteed as soon as the fighting begins. Which means probably next turn, I'll start attacking the city. Okay, now I will have the city produce a library. I can whip this one more time. Okay. It'll go back at the size 3, then it'll be at happiness cap, and I'll tell it to stop growing at that point. Alright. We'll begin the attack at the beginning of the next video. Combat odds 68.6%. I currently have 8 vultures here. There's 5 archers inside the city. And there's 3 more vultures just outside, waiting to finish up if for whatever reason this group fails. If there are a few successes, I may wait for some of them to heal up before finishing, just to make sure that I can finish off the city. A failed attack won't get me anywhere. He'll be able to replenish. So that's very important. That's it for this time. Notice I'm currently at the bottom of the list. That's very normal. All of these computers have substantial bonuses to production and commerce. They started with multiple extra technologies. They started on the very first turn they could make archers. I can't make archers yet. I never got the tech. I ignored most of these techs. What I'm going to do with technology is I'm going to grab Alphabet, and then as soon as Alphabet is done, I'm going to trade for as many of these lower level technologies as I can. That way I can avoid having to research them myself. This tends to be the strongest play, especially if you're the first to get to Alphabet. I don't think I will be. I assume that at least one of the AI already has it, so it may have already been traded around a little bit. But we'll see what we can get, and that'll happen in the middle of this war. This 60% number is about where you want to be during the early game, but I'm still operating in a gold deficit, so this number is going to continue to go down. That's because all of these units cost maintenance, and this is a lot of units. It's a ton more than you're supposed to have at this phase of the game. It should be okay. As long as I take this city, everything should turn out alright. But this is a somewhat risky strategy, although it is definitely a very strong one. Alright, I will see you in the next video.